and that our beauty didn't have to look Eurocentric and small features. And one of my favorite things is that I can appreciate Black beauty. Take a look inside yourself. And that's what this journey has been for me. It's not been about me looking at everyone. It's about me unpacking Harrison.
The following conversation was recorded in the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom. Any argument or opinion that is expressed should not be taken as a reflection of the platform at hand. Harrison Paul and Tatenda Rights are appreciative of the audience members that are willing to listen to this with an open heart, an open mind, and an open ear. This conversation is riddled with tough topics such as racism, sexual assault, gender identity crisis, and others, so if you find yourself feeling uncomfortable or triggered during this, we encourage you to turn away or turn it off. We also encourage any double checking of any facts that are expressed in this. Sit back, not sure if you can relax, but we hope that you can learn from this as much as we did. Thank you. So, Harrison Paul, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Tatenda. How are you?
I am doing very well. You and I go back a little while, actually. I think
Long while.
very much so. I think the first time that I saw you, I think we were about 13 or 14 years old at your mom's house, and there was that party for your brother, JJ. And so I think that was the first time you and I met, or maybe we were a little younger than that. I don't fully remember.
Would have been. I would have thought more than that, younger than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so. So that's how long we go back. And in the last decade and a half, especially the last decade, you have done a lot of wonderful things. You were part of a band in Ireland called Fresh Ray. You're an independent rapper. You make music. You're creative. You also, post a lot on social media about your opinions on race and blackness and the Black community. And, you're just a very vocal being. And you're one person who I can say is an example of somebody that uses their platform to talk about what they believe in and also to talk about, the things that matter most to them. And one thing that I know you talk about a lot is the Black community. So tell me about that. What's, your love for the Black community? Tell me about what does the Black community mean to Harrison?
Wow. To me, it actually means it's like the Israelite people. Mm-hmm. That's why anybody knows the Bible would understand the Israelite people were people of God, a people who, we're just a very special people, isn't it? Our heritage from, there's a long story about us, and when I analyze us and assess us as a people, and this is actually quite good, even as I'm saying it out loud. I'm realizing that it's got nothing to do with the fact that it's my race. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's my people, it's my race. It's almost independent from me at times. It's like I look at Black men, I look at Black women, I look at the journey of, especially, when you see Black people from the diaspora, and you can tell someone who just came, you can tell them kind of from someone who just came to someone who's been here a while and
fresh off the boat.
Exactly, and my heart, even before I became who I was now, my heart always I'm not realizing why, my heart always used to weep for whenever I saw someone who was fresh off the boat, I remember that's something I can always remember from a young teen. Whenever I'd see them, my heart would get this weak, and now I'm great. I can actually assess that, and that was like I almost seen him like a vulnerable person in a place that I know I had to maneuver this place. I had to maneuver out of my Blackness. I had to maneuver out of my Africanness, and here you come fresh. That's going to be quite a challenge for you. You know what I mean? Like, on how you're going to.
I don't want to interrupt you, Harrison, but there's something that you said that stuck out to me. You said that you had to maneuver out of your Blackness. What, in terms of, and you said that in relation to somebody that's, fresh off the boat, that, I'm guessing you're implying that they're still to go through a process of assimilation that you probably had to. So what does what do you mean when you say maneuvering out of your Blackness? What did you have to do to assimilate or to connect to, I'm guessing, Irish culture and living in Ireland before you went to the UK?
And it's like, it's that what you said, and it's like, I was already thinking of the answer, and I was already thinking of what right now about people's responses, and it's like, oh, why don't you just be yourselves? You don't survive.
Yeah.
You won't survive. You won't survive. Um, I already was raised hearing my mom kind of like have her African accent and whatnot, hearing my parents have the African accent, watching white friends' response to that, watching them kind of then make jokes later on in school about how your mom said your name, or how your mom came to pick you at the school and she kind of said your name, or and you have to go through these things, right? And like there are a lot of these questions about, you know who you are, what your people are like. Are you these animalistic people? Are you know what I mean? And you're trying to show them, no, I'm Western. I'm civilized. You know what I mean? Like I think every black child has gone through a stage where they remember, like, you didn't tell your white friends that you ate with your hands. You know what I mean? Like, you,
Yeah.
you didn't tell your white friends that you couldn't, because then that would feed right into the animalistic you know, thing against us, So it's all these,
Or the view that we are primitive
you
or
know what I
something.
mean? Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all these things, details that you have to maneuver through as you grow up in diaspora and fitting in and yeah, that from yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And so essentially, when you then see somebody who's fresh off the boat, as we say, or who just moved here, they are quite vulnerable actually, because there's a lack of understanding of the social cues and social language that you have to learn how to, in order to adapt here. It's a bit like it's so funny that you say that actually, because I remember hearing, like, older women, older African aunties talking about the modern day African generation, like the younger African generation that are living in the diaspora. And they were complaining that oftentimes they don't even have the manners that our culture teaches us, that, they don't understand the importance of standing up when an adult comes into the room. They don't know the importance of, you and I come from Zimbabwe, so they don't know the importance of saying, Makadi and you, when they're greeting older people. I've seen people that I've known since I was younger, like, have treat my parents almost like they're Irish. And it's like, look, okay, we're living here, but we do have customs and cultures that, that dictate how we live. And so that's one thing that I've also noticed, that there's almost a, should I say, a rejecting of our culture and our norms in favor of assimilation. And before I let you continue, there was something that my mom actually pointed out. And she was like, she really admires East and South Asians, how they can actually come to a society and they know how to fit in and assimilate. They know that they learn the language and the cues, but they don't lose their Asianness, or they don't lose their connection to their culture in the home. But you find that even in the home, in Africa, in a lot of African homes in the diaspora, we end up speaking English. And now, don't get me wrong, I understand that some parents did it with a benevolent intention because they wanted us to fit in. But you look at other, should I say, people of color cultures, and they speak fluent English, but they also speak fluent whatever their native language is. And so I understand what you're saying. What do you think about that?
Girl, you gonna make me you gonna make me like go off today, because like that is something that I love so much. I'm gonna tell you why. This is why this may sound very controversial, and I always think, and I know how controversial, and I've had to come to accept the fact that Asian people, or any other than the Negro, has suffered their own fight, and I've had to accept that. But I definitely remember, and I know in society, an Asian is definitely higher up the hierarchy than we were. That's something that we know as black people. Like, let's talk about like an Asian woman or a black woman, which is higher up the hierarchy. Her flowy hair somehow puts her in that place that's above the high in the hierarchy. And this is something I want to say. Although they suffered, I think the Indians were colonized and whatever, the the attack on the Negro was something that I have to say was a target to destroy the self-esteem, the image, the perception of the Negro, there was definitely a stronger pursuit to destroy it. And this is evidence of it. Although I'm disappointed in my people because we have not, sorry, although I'm disappointed in my people that we need to be like the Asians, it also makes me understand that we are not the Asians, and that and in these times, I often see people like say, "Oh, stop Asian hate," and they want to infiltrate. Not won't like me for that, but infiltrate
That's a strong word to use.
our fight and dilute it because they know how severe it is with a lot of other things. And I see this happening. And Dr. Umar has that kind of strong where he's like, that's their new way of silencing us, is to do that, right? Now, I also am on the side of Dr. Carnell West, where he says we have to fight for all disadvantaged people. That's his fight, right? And they were kind of both going at each other quite recently, and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to take Dr. Cornell West, and I think my Christian side makes me take Dr. Cornell West because we're all, you know what I mean? God is looking around for women, white or black or Asian, anybody who is an underdog, anybody who is oppressed, definitely. But we have to be wise enough to understand that that is a way they're going to try and like. I was watching the news one time. This when I was still waking up. So I, like watching it was around the George Floyd time and 2020 and if you watch the news, you're gonna. That's why I love when I know that I'm fighting the right fight. The people up there who really control everything and all this stuff, they're so, I'm sorry for lack of a better word, so smart. They're so conniving and so smart in how they run the media and how they do everything. And when you finally become open to it, you don't see racism and all this as a topic like, relax, bro. You're just talking about something. They're so organized on defaming us. And now that these times are coming, they're also so diligent in saying, okay, we can't outright be racist, but let's manipulate and dilute and do all these things to the mind. And so I remember there was like something that happened to, okay, so, ITV News. So today something happened to George Floyd, the protesting, right? And then about the next, they move from topic to topic on the news. Next news was, and today an Asian person was abused, and the Asian community are also, for the fact that we know the black community has been the one that's been targeted. Let us fix the problem first. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like it's conniving. I wish I could express it more, but it's.
I think I can get what you're trying to say. So when you're talking about colonization and the history of, should I say the West, or should I say in this case, as you've said it on Instagram, the white man kind of infiltrating different countries, you're saying that when they were infiltrating Africa specifically, they weren't just targeting the African resources, but they were also targeting the African people. Whereas in other areas, they were probably just targeting the resources and the people just ended up being collateral, or should I say accidental or damage along the way. Whereas when they were infiltrating Africa, what you're trying to say is that it wasn't enough that they were just looking for resources and to better their kingdom, but they were also actively targeting us as Black people. That's what you're trying to say.
Girl, I know as a Black woman. I know as a Black woman. It's been something for you to maneuver through this life as a Black woman. I know that. I know that and I don't want anybody to take that, anybody with flowy hair to take that from you. I just really want to say that. Like, I know that we can talk about the blackface. We can talk about all the anybody depicted in the Bible was completely changed. We can talk about I don't know how to say this right, but the defamation on the Negro And everyone thinks it's okay now, and people will try and forget and act like everything is cleansed now. It's not cleansed. So for the sake of those doubters or deniers or deflectors, let's take us back to 2000, the year 2000, which we knew were probably 12 years old around that time, you know? So we're still very much in this world maneuvering around, right? Tell me about that life as a black girl in 2000. And I'm not talking about, and a lot of Asian people say this, oh, when 9/11 happened, I used to get a lot of stick for 9/11, you know? I'm not talking about this. There's one thing that, and I want us to talk about this today a lot. The defamation on the black woman was so severe because I was a part of it. And I was a part of it. And not only that, all of my friends were a part of it.
A part of the defamation of Black. What do you mean by that? Go into detail about that. That's very interesting.
Let me tell you something. I'm a male. I'm a man. I've been in male circles, right? I've been in male circles. I know what we talk like. I know what we discuss. I know what we, do you understand what I'm saying, right? An Asian girl could walk by, and we'd say, nice. I could be white boys would say the same thing. Oh, she's nice. Never, ever, ever in my time growing up did a black woman ever pass me or my friends, and me and my friends said, oh, she's nice. That was not an option. Black women were not an option. They were not a beauty. We completely defamed the black woman.
When you say that we weren't an option, was that something that you guys had vocalized, or was it like just an understanding amongst you guys?
It was a standard. It was a joke. It was a fact of life. You want to know why I fight? I think the black woman thing that makes me fight the most. It was a fact of life. Black women were ugly in our eyes. It was a fact of life.
So basically, it was like untouchable. We were the untouchables to you guys. And what were the reasoning? Because obviously, men are very generally quite logical and very like A, B, C, D. So what was it that made black women, not sexual favors for you, or not sexual favors, sorry, but like what was it that made us unattractive, or that made you guys exclude us from your dating pool?
And I'm going to tell you this, right? Girl, you've really pulled me in today. I'm feeling so emotional today. Honestly, I just feel so emotional.
That's okay. Let it out.
So let me talk about myself first. Let me talk about how long it took me to appreciate this. Being a big featured guy with a round nose and big lips, and I generally have a big face, and black people usually have that, you know what I mean? Like I have like big features. That took me so long to get to understand that, I wasn't small and cute, like Justin Bieber or like Chris Brown. Like that took me so long to just accept that. I looked in the mirror and I just saw everything big, and I was like, how am I gonna? In fact,
you saw your features in an extreme.
And I never forget when I was in Fresh Ray, I would always think, I can't wait till I get bigger. We get bigger so I can go straight to that nose doctor and get my nose done. Like that was factual. I couldn't wait. So anyone knows this Fresh Ray, I was literally waiting for us to get to bigger to that place so I could get that nose job.
Oh wow!
People will say, "Oh, girls want to get rid of their noses or change." No, I was trying to get rid of that blackness. I was trying to get it gone. I was trying to get that negroness gone as fast as I could, right? So, and that's internalized racism. Before anybody will say, oh, you put that, it was internalized. I can't tell you how much times I got nose insults from my boys. I can't tell you how much times I got lips insults as a joke and as friendly fire. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I wanted it to be gone. Yeah. So now when I tell you about that, right? And this is, again, internalized racism. This was society. Let's talk about women. And I said this before in one of my videos. I said, one of my favorite things that I learned about being black is embracing our type of beauty.
Okay.
And that our beauty didn't have to look Eurocentric and small features. And one of my favorite things is that I can appreciate Black beauty. Black beauty is not supposed to be a subgenre of white beauty. It's supposed to be a contrast of white beauty.
Yeah, okay.
It's supposed
Never
to be
thought
big
about it like
features.
that before.
It's supposed to be strong features. It's supposed to be like that. This is something that we were trying to, extract from it. You know what I mean? Like, or I don't know the term I want to use. That's the thing I want to say. I'll say it later in the interview. But we're trying to remove that from it, right? And so now when you take that logic of us as black people, right? You take that logic and then you try and put a black woman who is supposed to be born in all of her Nigerianness or her Zimbabweanness or her strong features, beautiful features, and you put it in a Eurocentric based place, contrasted. We considered you girls men in weaves, men in wigs. That was
what you guys would
literally
say?
how we talked about you. We literally how you talk. People are going to deny it. That's how we spoke about you guys. You were literally men in wigs. That's how we perceived you guys.
And was it just because of how we looked, or is it that like there was also the contrast in, because obviously culture dictates how you're socialized. So obviously there's a way that Irish girls are socialized and the way that British girls are socialized and the way that American and Canadian, even if some cultures are similar, every culture dictates a particular kind of socialization. And so, was it just the fact that our features were a lot stronger and not, should I say, as attractive, in comparison to the European standard that you had become exposed to from a young age? Or was there something deeper in that? Was the hatred just physical, or was there an element of our personalities or characters that you also compared to other races of women?
I love talking to a smart lady. This is wonderful. I really do. There was that as well. You like I said, like your auntie said, about manners and everything like that. Everything that we were supposed. That's why there's a toxic trait that's going around, a topic that men say white women are more feminine. You understand? Feminine. Because what we've attached femininity to is flicking the hair. That's feminine, right? So a white girl who does that, she's feminine now because she does that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we even removed your femininity. So yes, looks, but also your mannerisms were not like Becky or Aoife or Anya or whatever, because you weren't Anya. You were a beautiful black woman from the tribe of so and so. That you acted differently, your mannerisms were differently, you walked differently, you behaved differently. You saw your mom pick up things differently. You saw your mom, and Anya saw her mom tie up her hair and do. That's how that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So because your femininity and your mannerisms didn't match up or line up with that of Anya's, you were no longer feminine to us. Because femininity was flicking the hair.
Oh, I see. So essentially, in the eyes of a lot of young black boys, and I know you're talking about yourself, but I'll just speak generally, just for the sake of conversation. In the eyes of young black boys, what should just be a difference, because difference isn't that in if you really look at it, difference is not a value judgment. There's a reason why we are all different. There's a reason why what beauty looks like in Asia is very different to what beauty looks like in Africa. So essentially we're different because we come from different places. And so because a lot of young black boys were either born here or they came here at a young age, they essentially were, as a result of the racism and everything they were experiencing, they ended up being socialized to perceive the difference that white women had to their black sisters as a value judgment and as something that was better, as opposed to something that just was.
Yes. And I'm going to give you some a little nice, because I love seeing things now with new glasses on. Do you notice black men, and we're going to touch on this later, do you notice black men love Eastern European women?
Oh yeah. I've picked up on that. I've picked up on that. Why?
Because it feels like home. Because Eastern European women sort of have that more strength, but it's still attachment to the supremacy, the whiteness. So it felt like a sister, a little bit.
But without the struggle.
Without the struggle.
I get what you're saying. It's funny that you said that because it's something that I had also been thinking about as well. Because in preparation to the different people I want to interview, when I was then preparing for your file, I came across a video that talked about how if they were analyzing the Kanye West lyric, when he get on, he leave your ass for a white girl, and he was basically talking about how. And the woman in the video was talking about how so many Black men, once they come up and they rise up in society, they oftentimes try to attach themselves to whiteness and white supremacy. And so, but then because they know that deep down they will never be fully accepted, they settle for not all of them, of course, they settle for the white girls that act Black and sometimes even look a bit Black, but then that don't bring the same, because they're already struggling internally as a Black man in a white country. They know that aligning themselves with a Black woman would just amplify the struggle that they're going through. And because they don't want to confront it, they would much rather run from it by getting the benefits of having a Black girl energy without having to benefit from the Black girl struggle. Not realizing actually that they're, the white female partners that they're dating, who are, should I say, cosplaying as Black girls, are also benefiting from Black girl energy without having to struggle from it. So in a way, it's like escape by proxy, but really you're not really escaping anything. You're just kind of having two people running from their cultures into each other.
Yeah, and let's talk about as well, because I want to let these people know, because people are so defensive. No, I don't do that. I just like that. It's subconscious mind. The same way a person who went through trauma, who probably was sexually abused as a child, won't always know that they're crazy about sex on the streets because that's the day that they were touched when they were a child. And it's only when they go and they realize when you were touched here, that's attached to that day that your uncle touched. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why you feel, or maybe that's why you're no good with sexual experiences and you're very awkward with that, and they think that, man, I just didn't find anybody that I want to have sex with, or I didn't find anybody that I want to be intimate with, but sometimes it's, you've been traumatized towards that and it's subconscious mind. So I want us to underline what you said there, the power of the subconscious mind, and what I've done personally is, right now I'm speaking out as if it's matter of fact, but I did the work to unpack my subconscious mind. It wasn't that I just saw, oh yeah, and you get very offended, when you think, no, I don't think like that. I'm smarter than that. I like that because I like that. Take a look inside yourself. And that's what this journey has been for me. It's not been about me looking at everyone. It's about me unpacking Harrison. And as I unpack Harrison, I'm unpacking the environments I was in, the conversations I held with fellow Black men, the conversations I held with fellow white men, do you understand what I'm saying? So then that's when I'm able to say, yeah, the thesis and what I'm getting from society is fact, because I remember that conversation I had with a white boy. I remember not only what I said, but I remember what he said. You know what I mean? So I got in his mind, and I remember I had a very similar conversation with Derek and John and Adam. Do you know what I'm saying? And they had that same thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, yeah, that's it.
I get what you're saying. So I want to go back into something. You said something about the subconscious mind, and how sometimes it's your experiences that would dictate whether or not, you said like, essentially you said, oh, I'm not like that. I just like what I see. Do you think then it's possible for there to be just a natural attraction between people of two different races? No. Like, is it possible for a Black guy who loves his culture, loves his people, who, of course, I mean, I think all of us have issues and things we've internalized. It's just part of life. But let's say there's a Black man, who, let's say, doesn't speak negatively about Black women and who's kind of sees everybody equally in that sense. And so do you think it's possible for for a Black person, to a Black man in this case, to be naturally attracted to a white woman and just fall in love with her because of her personality? Or do you think that, for that to happen, there had to have been like the socialization of being a foreigner or being around white people for that to happen?
So what you just said there about it being natural, if it was natural, right, the numbers would line up with men, white men. It would line up the same of how because I feel like that's what the case is, white men. When I see white men, it's like, white men, it is an instinct to move towards your own. It's an instinct that we were all, I'm going to speak especially for white boys growing up in Ireland, we were all robbed from. Now that I'm finally with my first ever, and praise God, last ever Black woman, I
Oh, Tilda's your
noticed in
first.
my first,
How old are you, Harrison?
I was 2020, no, 2021.
But how old are you now?
I'm 26.
You're 26, and you're really the relationship you're in now is the first Black woman you've ever been with.
There you go.
Wow. Okay. We'll get it. We'll get into that. But going back to you were saying that. Wow. Wow. I did not know that. So.
Yeah.
Whoa. I did not know that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's instinctual. There's so much things that's instinctual. I'll never even forget the first day, because we known each other since we were kids, right? But I'll never forget the first day when we met up, because she lives in Belgium. I live here, so she came to visit me home, and I understand that. We were in love, yeah, because we had been talking before, and I understood that. But no, this is when you know someone knows your blackness. There's little things that subconscious insecurities you have as a Black person when you're gonna go meet up with a white girl. You're gonna go, all them being cancelled in your subconscious mind is a feeling you will never. It's wonderful. It's home. It's all those little hang-ups your subconscious mind has as a Black man. I'm going to use a radical one. That even say, because Black men probably have stronger sense. Our hormones are probably stronger, so we always have that fear that we have a stronger scent. Maybe the food that's cooked in our home is more spices, is cooked with a stronger scent. Those kind of things. Yeah, we have that insecurity. A lot of Black men will have that your scent is different to an average white person's scent, because it's a lot of spices cooked in your home.
Damn.
Fish. You know what it is.
This is the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, so this is something that we will definitely have. Like, I remember we have a lot of things like me and my boys will make jokes like, that smells so black, or
oh my God, like you and other Black boys saying this.
I even had a white football coach who used to make jokes saying, my seat smells like black. I won't say his name. Oh, the black smell of black off my seat. We laugh with him. This is our football coach, the elder.
Oh my God.
White dude. And then there was a assistant coach. They'd laugh, and this was the laugh. And then players would get involved, and we would laugh with the players about ourselves. And there was like 3 of us Black boys on the team. Yeah, 3 of us, and everyone would laugh with us. And then call us. My name was Black Harrison.
Oh my God! Oh damn.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, didn't want to name him. Sorry for that, but I don't think he'd mind, because he knows. And Abby, rest in peace, another player.
Oh, Abby, I remember he passed. I'm sorry about your loss, by the way.
No, yeah, that was wonderful. Wonderful guy, man. And yeah, God bless him. And yeah, so this is things we put up. We loved it. We not only did we put up with it, we loved it. We were so. You talk about the quote of Malcolm X that says, even if the house was burning, if the slave's master's house was burning, the slave would even weep more or worry more about the house burning than the house Negro himself, than the master himself. I just read that recently. Like, a house Negro, if the slave master's house was burning, the house Negro is actually grieving more for his slave master than that.
Because they lose a house, but the master still keeps the plantation.
Yeah, but basically what I'm saying is, like, he is so deluded and in love and in a battered woman syndrome, and so in love that he has sacrificed himself. We sacrificed ourselves, our self-esteem, our self-respect for that acceptance. And the fact that our oppressor could find joy out of us in any format, no matter if it was putting us down, whatever, it meant the world to us.
So basically what you're telling me is that, it's probably that way now, but for a lot of the young Black boys in your generation who are growing up in Ireland and obviously the UK, but in this case in Ireland, they obviously were on the receiving end of, this doesn't even seem like microaggressions, but they were on the receiving end of a lot of microaggressions, and they would participate in them. So if anything, they would also then contribute to their, should I say, I'm not, because the thing is, I also don't want to use words that I haven't heard you use as well. So they kind of contributing to them being whitewashed by living here. Because I remember you said that before on your story. You've used the term before, so I don't want to ever misquote you. So
No, yeah.
oh wow, that's something that it's funny you say that, because I do know that I've been in situations as a Black woman where people have made, even though they were quote unquote innocent, people have made jokes, and because I was the only one, I felt like I couldn't really say anything back, and so I would just kind of laugh along. But that was more to manage the situation as a woman, as opposed to me actually believing in those jokes. But what you're telling me is that a lot of young Black boys, at least from what you experienced, even if they didn't really believe in it, but like oftentimes they participated in the small ways that people would try to discriminate against you, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's making me actually go back to what I was thinking. Because I actually realized I wanted to go back to that. Because I remember, I didn't want to lose it. It's so we're talking about being with a Black woman, right? And sorry, I'm just remembering that point just now. Remembering it. So it's like you've got every Black person knows how the media has depicted us. There's a long list of false depictions about a Black man, of stereotypes that think of them like you're Olympic runner. All these stereotypes you're jumping over. The Olympics have to jump and jump. Yeah. These hoops that you're going in and around as a Black person. You're going to, don't want to think I'm a thief. Let me not dress like that. Don't want to think I'm violent. Let me not raise my voice. I don't want to think I'm animalistic. Let me put on my white. Let me not laugh too loud, or they're gonna think I'm. All these hoops you're jumping over, and when you get with a Black woman, I understand you can find a white woman who won't pin you to those groups, but then when you find a Black woman where the two of you face those hoops together, oh geez, I'm telling you. Where you can feel the two of you are linked in those things.
I get you. It's a bit like what like that song by Jay-Z called Family Feud. And he said, "What's better than one billionaire too, especially when they're the same hue as you." That's basically what he said. And so it's basically, that's kind of that energy that, like, you, of course you can, because you said that, you can find, let's say, a non-Black person who won't pin you to the stereotypes, but then in your experience being with Tilda, being with a Black woman, it's not even that you're not pinned to those stereotypes, but you can actually just face them together because you both get them
together.
So it's almost like it's like two against the world, us against the world.
Two against the world. You know what I'm saying? And so then we talk about, and then it reminds me of a conversation I had with my mother before I met Tilda, 2020, when I started fighting. And, again, shout out to my mom's book. She was right. She had actually written a book right before George Floyd had died.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was actually about to write this book about decolonizing the mind.
Yeah. Well, what's the name of your mom's book? Just so people can know it.
Yes, it's wonderful. It is, thank you, Mrs. G, A Colonized Mindset to Total Emancipation.
Oh my God. Yes. All right. Is it where can people find it for those that are curious?
Amazon, everything. Just Google, thank you, Mrs. G. This book changed my life. Being a part of this book changed everything for me. Because she was already writing the book, and I hopped on the bandwagon as she was finalizing it because George Floyd died. So I was like, oh, Mom, yeah, that book. So then I was obviously seeing everything happen online. And then she'd be like, that's what I was talking about in my book. Yeah, we were kind of, then I was kind of interested with her. Then we began to, she began to teach me more. And now I was interested, right? And she said to me, I remember she said to me, Harrison, I was arguing with her, Martin Luther King could have marched with a white woman. It would have meant more. He goes, no, couldn't have happened. I said, Mom, no, that's not. I argued with her that he could have marched with a white woman. She said it couldn't have been. And I argued with her that day. And I get it now.
I mean, I'm more on your mom's side. Martin, he would have been shot before he even got on stage with the white woman. There's no way in hell Martin Luther. I mean, it's funny that you say that, because it actually then came out that he unfortunately cheated on his wife a lot with white women, but he never would have been able to make them public. That's why he kept it private.
Yeah, but it's the representation, right? It's the representation that mattered, because not only was he representing Black males, but she was also representing black women. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that representation, that unity mattered. And I know a lot of white people or black men who are with white women who started families. I myself have a mixed race child.
Oh, I didn't
But
know you
we're
had a
gonna get
kid.
into. I do have a mixed race son. Yeah.
Oh, you do. You mentioned in equity actually, but I thought you were speaking in future tense. Oh, how? If you don't mind, how old is your son? I won't ask the.
He is 3 years old. He's gonna be 4 next week.
Oh, okay, okay. Wow. Well, happy early birthday to your son.
Yeah, thank you very much. He's probably when this comes out, he'll be 4. He's my I think about him all the time. You know what I mean? Like that is my oh man. And we're gonna get into that. I was thinking a lot about how we're gonna talk about him and talk about in these topics. But when we talk about like into can you? I think you asked me the question of like, are you able to be a staunch pro?
More like the question was actually just more, do you think that an attraction between a black person and a white person is natural? Like, can there just be one that's not influenced by self-hatred or socialization, one that's just two people who just fell for each other?
Thank you for bringing me back. So we talked about the white man where it's natural for him, and you can see the percentage on how much he does it. You will find a white man who did fall in love with a black woman. He's loved the black woman, found her, but unfortunately, we won't be able to get them stats right now because of our history. We won't be able to get them stats, unfortunately. We have the defamation of the black woman. We have the Eurocentric beauty standards. We have all these things that we go over, and and then we've got the fact that my brother, who's 25 years old, was probably the first generation of Irish born. I think your sister was as well. First generation of real Irish born black, right? So think of all the hurdles, and we're probably 2 years older than them, right? A year older than them, right? So we basically face the same hurdles, of growing up, and facing that head on. And unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, I know a lot of people won't like this, is that let us respect our black women and respect them and say, I understand you're in a relationship, and I'll say this to anybody watching. I understand you're in a relationship, but don't take it personal. Let's first respect our black women by understanding that they were defamed, and that the hierarchy of life is the white man, the white woman, the black man, the black woman. Let's definitely understand that. So first things first is that and anybody wants to say that the black woman sits on top of the white woman is a lie. So one thing my mom also said to me, what I loved before, because I was kind of thinking about mixed race child and mixed race children, and she said to me, men want the best for their kids. Men want their kids to go further than them. So when they idolize their children, and we were all idolizing our children, we were idolizing our children being in a position that was not going to be ours. This is subconscious. So he's not going to be on this dark skin. He's going to be handsome. He's going to be light skinned. He's going to be like Chris Brown. He's going to be that nigga. He's not going to have to go through what I went through. This subconscious mind. So, for example, right? White girls will say to each other, girl, you're looking good. Why, you just come back from Spain? You got darker, you got some color on you. Was that the reaction of a black person when they came back from a sun or a time of the sun? We all know back in Ireland, that was not the reaction. Damn, bro, looking dark, bro. You can't even see you in the dark. Smile, can I see you? Smile, all I can see is the teeth. Your white friends will make those jokes about you. All I can see is your teeth in the dark. So we run away from that. So this all subconscious. It's like a motor that runs, right? It's not, the motor is not thinking to itself, oh, this thing has to activate this to activate this. Our brain is just like a motor that runs based off different elements that are happening. Think of like an engine, The engine is not thinking that this has to connect here, to connect here, to connect. It's just doing it, and it's all flowing and making the flow. So I really want to keep reminding viewers of that. It's like, oh no, I don't think like that. It's like, no, that's why whenever you thought of your child or you imagine your child, you imagine it being this cute little mixed race kid with velour curls. That's why you did that. Okay. You imagine it being this little mini Chris Brown, this little mini this, and you imagine in a Nike tracksuit or an Air Force One, and you pictured this handsome guy who resembled you, which I have now, right? And it's funny because now I'm so eager to let him know, to make him understand this too.
Do you consider your son black or mixed?
My son is mixed.
Your son's mixed. Okay.
What did you say again? Sorry.
Do you consider your son black, or do you consider him mixed?
Okay. Now, that's a good conversation. We'll get into that, and I'll tell you why he's mixed race.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'll just say it a little bit, right? We'll make it quick because I love this. It's a great debate. Mm-hmm. Dr. Umar said this as well. Those kids were black on when the slave master raped them, and they were on this, and they would have to pick cotton. It mixes a new thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's why Black Americans, I love them so much. They're so cultured and they know their history. That's why you ever see them saying, she's a black woman, I'm like, she's a black woman, she's mixed. You know what I mean? Like, she has a bit of white. And they know, like, no, because they've been there for a while, right? So it's like, no. Aunt Junie had to come off the plantation just as much as Aunt Betty had to come off the plantation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they both came off Grandma Betty and Grandma June came off the plantation at the same time, even if Grandma June was the light-skinned one and Grandma Betty was the dark-skinned aunt. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there was no preference in those times. So that's the history that actually makes them stick together, and they start giving. I used to think, why are you giving that person a black award? Like, they're not black, as per se. And it's like, they're very cultured to know, like, no, this new mixed race thing was a new thing. And when we were being spat on, being degraded, being whatever, a mixed race woman will get it just as much. Do you understand? So they respect that history. But now, and I want to hang on to calling them black. I truly do, I would love to make my son more of me. But he is also his mother's son. Yeah. And I cannot take that from her. Oh, yeah. He's a wonderful gift to me. Do you understand? He's a wonderful gift to me. And of course, he's just as much a wonderful gift to her. So I can't keep it all to myself. She wants to identify herself in that child as well. And it's and whatever, she's obviously has to be proud of her whiteness, not the negative sides of it, but the fact that because her mother's Albanian, she's Albanian, she has to be proud that he's, or whoever has an Irish, that she's proud of being Irish. He's in there. Do you understand what I'm saying? The Irishness will be in that boy or that girl. Yeah. And we are not allowed to say, no, it's ours fully. It's just not right. It's not fair, it's not nice. Do you know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, as much as we want to have revenge and say, yeah, they were black on this plantation, it wasn't right when they did it then, and two wrongs don't make a right.
That makes sense. With everything that you're telling me, actually, especially in the last 2 or 3 minutes, it really has me. I'll just tell you what I think is being implied, like in the undertone of a lot of what you're saying, is basically that. Would you say that your answer then is that in general, black men or black people, but in this case, because I'm speaking with a black man, in general, black men who get together with non-black women, especially white women, generally their motivations subconsciously aren't actually love, but an escape. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, sis, it's an escape. It's an escape, and they won't like this because black women are escaping too. Like I say this, and I say this with all respect. Why would a black man, respect, right, go to a black woman who's trying to put on Eurocentric beauty? Why would he not just go to the real thing that's higher up the hierarchy? And this is why I encourage black women to make sure your black man can get his contrast and begin to develop our contrast. Are you following what I'm trying to say?
And that part I don't understand. What do you mean get the contrast?
So, girl, no, I'm not saying it to you.
I get you.
About it now in my mind.
Go ahead.
Do not tell me. Now that I see it, it's so hard to unsee. I walk through life, and the uniform for a black woman is Caucasian style wig. Our literal school uniform across the. When you think like how I think, and you move around like an activist, like how I am. Mom said not to call myself an activist. That I'm a little bit more than that. Thanks, Mom. I'm walking around uniform, one after the other. Zombies. Every time, have to put on your. Can't show who I am. Got to put on top. Look at. I'm so happy I'm sitting here with a black woman right now with short hair and you rocking it.
Thank
Short
you.
hair and you rocking it.
Thank
Who
you.
said that who said we this how we were looking before they came and colonized us?
I think we were.
Yes.
Because I mean, even with the heat, our hair takes in so much heat that shaving our heads, I think, is what we probably did. I don't know this to be true, but that's just what I suspect because it gets hot up here.
Yes. And you know what they were saying? They were saying, "Look at that sister! Oh, damn! Look at that sister with the short hair." Do you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm using an example because, of course, I have a wife, so I have to be respectful. But they were looking at you with your short hair and saying, "Look at that sister! She look good." The man was saying, "She good, right?"
And it's funny you say that because when I stopped wearing weaves and wigs, I actually noticed that I attracted twice as many white dudes with my natural look. Weirdly enough, like I attracted a lot of black guys when I had weaves and I mean, I attract black guys in general, but like I attracted a lot of black guys when I had like fake hair on my head. But then when I shaved my head, it was like the white man came out of the corner. I was like, whoa, this is weird. And that's actually something I wanted to talk to you about. When I see interracial couples, and now I'm just generalizing based on what I've seen, right? And I've been in an interracial relationship. My dating history is a bit mixed. Like I've been with black guys mixed, but my the last two guys I dated actually were white. And I noticed that like in general, when I see white dudes that are with black women, they tend to go to the black women that a lot of black men reject. So they're oftentimes very dark and very Afrocentric. And I'm sure there's an element of a fetish that goes on in there because I think with every group of people, there is some kind of a fetish. Like there's always some people within that group that have a fetish, but generally, like the white guys I dated, when I wore my duku, when I shaved my head, when I was wearing African attire, it's almost like they were in a trance. The very things that, unfortunately, a lot of black boys would make fun of me for as a teenager. And so what do you think about that? Why do you think that is? Like what's your take on all of that? Because you're flexing now, and I can see you have a lot to say.
I love this. I love this. I study this all the time. I take all the time to study this. I lose my mind. I don't even have friends really, like people I hang out with. I'm just this guy who, like I always say, I'm on Mars. I'm just analyzing, breaking these things, unpacking. I was talking to a young brother